At Courier, we're really proud of our channel frames. If you've used us before, you'll see that when you're editing email, it looks like the email that you're sending. If you're playing with Slack, it looks like the Slack frame. And we finally got around to updating the channel frame so that when you edit the in-app messages, it looks like the in-app message that you're going to send. And then also when you get a preview, we're going to preview it and show you what the message looks like when it's rendered, but also what it looks like inside of your inbox. So that's a pretty exciting way for you to kind of preview your messages before you actually go out and send them.
Yeah, so I've been using in-app during the beta for different things. And like in the beginning, the channel frame was just kind of our generic push channel frame. So it had a title, it had what did it have? A title and then like a description and the buttons.
Yeah, title and body is all it really had. We didn't even, that was all we were really supporting at the time.
Yeah, and so now whenever I'm using specifically the Courier channel or the Courier provider, I can actually see what it's going to look like. It looks just like the toast notifications that come across, and what it will look like in the inbox. So that's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I think we have a sneak peek. So things that you're currently working on that hopefully we'll be talking about this time next month.
Yeah, so really we're focusing on trying to add more functionality to our toast messages. And you noticed it before in the previous slide, we have buttons on the far right. And we kind of felt a little bit limited by only having 2 buttons, view details and dismiss, and then didn't really give you a chance to do much with it. So what we're doing is we're pushing the buttons down at the bottom. We will add multiple buttons for each row, but we're really kind of focusing on, hey, let's just make the actions a block if you're familiar with Courier, so that you can kind of like create like a longer message if you want. And then, we're going to think about doing a lot more cool functionality this way.
Yeah, that's very cool. Because like what we're seeing right now is we're seeing kind of the title, which is template published, but then we're actually seeing 2 Courier blocks on this template. So we've got the text block that has our variable for template name, and then we've got an action block that's got our buttons. And so we could actually put multiple text blocks, multiple button blocks on this, and it will just kind of like grow down, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea that we're thinking, at least at this point, and it gets us a way to speak the same language as the rest of our channels, because everything is just kind of like a list of blocks.
Sure.
So it kind of makes things like more consistent with the rest of our application.
Yeah, and that kind of opens it up to more like block reuse. So like if you had multiple channels on the same notification, like you could share blocks between. So maybe this template name was recently published, was part of like a text message, but you can use that same block and drag it over. Yeah,
same with like the action blocks. Same action block you can drag over to an email or anything like that. So you can just reuse the blocks. Having them be on the far right meant that they were specifically for the in-app channel, which means that you couldn't reuse it. So we really want to focus on the reusability of it. So yeah.
Yeah. And Riley, does that change the size of the toast if you add multiple blocks?
Yeah, so right now what happens when you get like a bigger toast, or like say you want to write a novel in your description, it will grow. We'll probably add ways to like truncate it or add scroll, or we haven't figured that part out yet. But right now, we don't anticipate people putting too much in there or adding too many blocks. We really think that people are going to put title, 1 or 2 sentences in a text block, and then add an action block. Theoretically, you could add like 10 text blocks, 10 action blocks, but we don't really anticipate that happening. We'll kind of see what the market says and see what customers use as they build it out, and then we'll kind of iterate as we get more information from people using it.
Yeah, that's great. And all of the in-app stuff is available to use. I think it's still under beta, but if you join our Discord, as I type this again because I put Discord, not right. If you join our Discord, say, hey, I'd love to try out in-app. We're always looking for more beta testers. You can talk to Riley. I know that you've been in there a lot helping out people getting started with it. But we're also interested in your feedback. So if you kind of like this idea and you have ideas about what should happen where, like we'd love that kind of feedback.
Yeah, and even if you don't want to use it and you just want to give feedback, like that's great too.
Yeah, and I think before we let you go, there was one more thing that you released that's not really quite part of in-app, but we wanted to make sure we covered it because it's pretty cool. And that
yeah, I was like, what
yeah,
Slack presence, and like this is really paving a way for more interactivity and more options in terms of other channels as well. But the idea here is that Slack has an API for presence where you can say, hey, is somebody online or not? If you go into your own Slack thing, you can set yourself away, you can set yourself active, and you can interact with that data property through an API. So what we do is when we send a Slack message, we say, hey, Slack, is this person online? If they're not online, we'll go to the next channel and say, hey, actually, you know what? Let's do it. Before we would just kind of try to send it and fail. But now we'll back out and we'll try the next channel, which is really cool because we want to extend this functionality to in-app itself, actually, because we want to say, hey, is somebody actually in the app for in-app? Cool, if they are, show them the message. If not, maybe we want to, send them a text or send them an email. So this is really paving the way for more functionality in terms of presence in app and other potential providers in the future.
Yeah, like Slack has always had like this really sophisticated notification system, and it's great that we can use Courier to just tap into that. Like so we know presence and things like that. So I set up the little demo to like kind of see how it worked, and what's really great is you can kind of set up your channels. You can put them in your preferred order like you typically do, but if you go into the settings for the channel settings for Slack, you now have this little checkbox for presence checking. And so once you turn that on, if the person's not online, it will just go on to the next one. So in my example right here, I want to send it to Slack, but if they're not online, I'm just going to send it to email. Yeah. Yep. And so it is something that you opt into. If you want presence checking turned on, you do have to go turn it on.